What a fine array of cars we have here to show you today. Just a wonderful selection of minty Hot Wheels with some very rare variations. Some exceptional paint and tampo work. Well, totally squashed cars. Wait, this is the wrong video. Welcome back for another vintage Hot Wheels collection video. This is all of the Hot Wheels released in 1976. Part of the Flying Colors series, or the main line as we now call it basically. But back then it was the Flying Colors, and boy, there are a lot of colors to choose from. 37 different castings, 57 models to show you here, including the all-new for 1976 Super Chrome series. Very collectible series indeed of mirror finished cars. And we've also got some very rare variations in here and some 6-pack exclusives of the time. So we'll get into each of these cars in just a moment. But first, a quick overview with the name of every vehicle you see here on the table. American Hauler, American Tipper, Baja Bruiser, Buzz Off, Cool One, Corvette Stingray, Emergency Squad, Ferrari 312P, Formula 5000, Formula Pack or PACK, Gun Bucket, Gunslinger, Inferno, Jet Threat 2, Khaki Cooler, 2 variations here, Lowdown, Maxi Taxi, Mercedes C111, Neat Streeter, Chief Special, P917, Paddy Wagon, Poison Pinto, Police Cruiser, Rockbuster, Roger Dodger, Street Rodder, Twin Mill 2, one of my favorites, Ah Shoot, Baja Bruiser, Staff Car, P911, Supervan, Alive 55, Chevy Monza 2+2, Corvette Stingray, Formula 5000, Gremlin Grinder, Heavy Chevy, Large Charge, Mighty Maverick, Mustang Stalker, Neat Streeter, P911, another Porsche 911, P917, Prowler, Rockbuster, Steamroller, another Steamroller, Twin Mill 2, Poison Pinto, Supervan, Supervan, Supervan. And now let's zoom in for a closer look at what separates some of these vehicles from the others. What makes some of these special? Which ones are rare? How much do they cost? I'll share all my experiences in collecting this entire 1976 array of vehicles with you in the next few minutes. In alphabetical order, let's take a look at all of these vehicles. 1976 was the first debut of the American Hauler and the American Tipper, later on to be known as the Highway Hauler casting. This truck was actually seen in 1973 in the Mountain Mining playset. And here we have a very rare example of this truck. There was one very notable difference though. Back then it had a very short chassis. It has been significantly lengthened past the gas tanks to the now more modern casting that you see before you. The American Tipper features a tipping bucket, whereas the Hauler possibly has an opening door. However, I'm not going to try it due to the fragility of the plastic on these old models. The last time we saw Baja Bruiser, it was 1974. Back then it featured a metal base. Well, here it is again in 1976, now a little bit more cheaply made with a plastic base. This one isn't in perfect condition, as you can tell, unlike my 1974 version, but it's still in pretty good shape. And really, both of these vehicles are about equally as hard to find on the open market, and in mint condition should run you around $70 to $80. The same value is not attached to this green alternate Baja Bruiser, which came out in 1976, and is substantially more rare than these two 1974 alternate versions. A nice condition green alternate version like this could run you as high as $500, and in mint condition might even fetch $1,000. It's quite an extraordinarily rare little vehicle, and I doubt many of these were made, let alone survived. The buzz-off for this year is the same as the vehicle released in 1974, with the major difference being that it now has a plastic base instead of a metal base. Plastic base versions of the buzz-off are worth less than the metal base versions, roughly at about $20 to $30 for this vehicle, and about double that for a metal version. Cool one. This car actually is the same casting as the Inferno casting, which we'll look at in a moment. However, a new casting for 1976 featuring some interesting small wheels on the front, big red lines on the back, and a giant chrome plastic motor with a built-in spoiler. The same can be said for the Inferno. Each of these cars are pretty hard to come by in good shape, surprisingly, and can set you back anywhere between $50 and $60 in the condition that you see right here. Typically, I find the cool one is worth a bit more than the Inferno, but that could just be supply and demand at the time that I was buying these. An all-time favorite, the Corvette Stingray. This model is based off of a 1975 Corvette. And while there is a Super Chrome model of this car as well, I'm going to deal with the Super Chromes on a separate event for each car. So we'll stick with the flying colors. This is a hard car to come by in mint condition such as this. With the Redline tires, it can fetch anywhere between $100 and $125. With the Blackwall wheels that come out at a later date, it's quite a bit less, but still about $50 or $60. This one features an all one-piece window and interior blue transparent plastic, but a metal base with Corvette Stingray titled on the bottom. Emergency Squad makes a debut again in 1976. Didn't we just see that one? Yes, we did. In 1975, it featured a blue tint window. 1976 gets the smoked out black window and interior treatment. Otherwise, the exact same vehicle. Same base and everything. The Ferrari 312P also makes a comeback, this time with a more economical construction, featuring now a plastic base for 1976. Back in 1974, it had a metal base. This seems to be a trend for 1976 as Hot Wheels cut costs to make their cars continually affordable and only $1 a piece. The Formula Pack. Now renamed for 1976, it was formerly the El Rey Special. But as we can see on this new casting of the base, clearly says Formula Pack with a stamp over the copyright. 1973, interestingly. This one has a pretty cool graphic design with wolf heads on the back and Pack written all over it with more little wolf heads. One of these cars in mint condition will run you about $30 to $50. And then there's the Formula 5000. This is an all-metal casting as well, with a very heavy, thick base, as you can see, and the title on the bottom, although not a whole lot of details otherwise. This car also will run you about $30 to $50 in mint condition. Adding to the Mattel line and arsenal of Hot Wheel military vehicles, we've got the Gun Bucket. This is one of my favorite castings of the time. A brand new casting for 1976. Here we have one in completely mint condition. Quite often these played with versions will have bent or missing guns, but their little tiny wheels in the tracks are always there. Very sturdy build and rolls very nicely in spite of those smaller wheels. It has a plastic fold down front window. Well, it's supposed to fold down, but it doesn't in the model, of course. It's too small. Anyways, something in this condition will run you anywhere between $75 and $100. Next up is the Gunslinger. Last seen the year before in 1975, the new Gunslinger features a clip on top of the plastic window designed to hold the pivoting artillery piece in place. Otherwise, this casting is exactly the same in all ways as the 1975 version. However, because of this new clip, and being a lot more common I suppose, this version is not worth nearly as much as the 75 version, although still fetching anywhere around $50 or $60 in mint condition, as you see here. Here's another fun and fast casting on the racetrack, Jet Threat 2. Actually the same casting as Jet Threat 1 from 1971 and 73. Jet Threat 2 doesn't even say Jet Threat 2 on the base, it's still just known as the Jet Threat. This casting would never be seen again after 1978, and in this purple paint job it was only available with Redlines. And here we have the Super Van, now known for this paint job as the Khaki Cruiser, khaki indicating the green khaki color of it. We have two versions here, chrome plastic base on the one side and metal base on the other. In my experience, it's harder to find a mint version of the chrome plastic base. However, price guides would indicate that the metal base version is the rarer of the two. At any rate, I've noticed these vans typically sell anywhere between $60 and $120 in mint condition. Here's a bright example of the Lowdown, or basically a Ford Gran Torino, although it could also pass as the Chevy Monte Carlo. This car here has a very interesting psychedelic tampo job on the roof and trunk. Features a chrome plastic base, and I think was a fairly popular car. I have quite a few old wrecks of this one lying around in the Tupperware boxes, but in mint shape you're looking to spend at least $60 to $70 for this car. The Maxi Taxi is basically a Chief Special in taxi paint job. However, the packaging would now call it Maxi Taxi as indicated on the tampo work. The base still is generic and doesn't say anything. In fact, one of the names is blanked over. Nice little casting of an Oldsmobile 442 basically. This car in mint shape will run you about $70 to $80 and is pretty tough to find in my experience. The Mercedes C111 also gets the cost-cutting treatment for 1976. Last we saw it, 1974, it had a metal base, opening gull-wing doors, and now featuring a plastic base, but still with those awesome gull-wing doors. I really do like this casting. It's got a very detailed steering wheel as well. However, the most interesting thing here we have is this chrome base version. And no, it does not have the C111 tampo on the back, which is also exceedingly rare, featuring a chrome base. This chrome base version appears never to have had that tampo, but it is a chrome plastic base on this car. I won this car at auction on eBay for about $350. I've never seen another one like it, and I venture to say it is extremely rare. The black base version, however, with Redlines is worth about $30 or $40. Later on it will come out with black walls and be worth about half that. Here is a beautiful casting designed by Larry Wood in 1976, a brand new casting for this year based on a 1936 Ford Coupe. This is an awesome casting which is now still used to this day, and for obvious reasons. Forever popular, this one features the bicentennial year colors, blue, white, and red. Oldie but a goodie, Ford proudly on the back of it. Truly a beautiful casting. Nice heavy metal butt base on it as well, with the title Neat Streeter. This car will run you anywhere between $75 and $100 in mint condition. The Chief Special for 1976 features a light bar cast into the roof, replacing the 1975 dome and siren horns. Both are still called the Chief Special. However, I like to think of this casting as the Maxi Taxi casting, since in my opinion that light bar looks more like a taxi rooftop piece. And these two castings are exactly the same. At any rate, the Chief Special in mint condition like this is a tough car to come across, and you're looking at spending anywhere between $50 and $70 for this car. It features a chrome plastic base with exposed axles, interestingly. The Porsche 917, as you see it, was also a carryover from previous years. In 1974, this car had a metal base. This year, it's got the exact same paint job, all the same parts and everything, including the same metal engine. However, it also now has a plastic base like many of its other cousins. Still a wonderful casting, and in this condition, worth at least $50. While we're talking about Porsche, let's look at this 911 with the Herfy's Tampo on the side. This car was previously seen in 1975, exactly the same, metal base still. However, that Herfy's Tampo makes this car quite rare, and in conditions such as you see it here, worth at least $150. I've seen these things mint sell for upwards of $250. Mine did not fetch that because the previous owner decided to do a little bit of touch-up work on it, which never helps the value of a car. You're better off to leave the flea bites. I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but this paddy wagon was also seen in years previously with a metal base, now featuring the plastic base. Plastic base versions typically aren't ever worth anything more than the metal base versions, and likewise this one isn't either. Valued at probably around $25 to $35, even in nice condition such as this. It's still a cool little piece, but now feels quite lightweight with that plastic base and plastic top. The Poison Pinto is a crowd favorite for sure, and a new casting for 1976. This car is based on a heavily modified Ford Pinto. It does feature some, well, it's hard to say, it looks like tools. We've got some tools and wrenches in the back and a length of rope. But the power's all up front, busting through that hood. This is a really nice condition casting that I have here before you, and in this shape is worth at least $100 now. However, if you find one with a few flea bites, you usually are able to get at a bit of a discount. Unlike the Chief Special that we saw earlier, the police cruiser retains its little blue cherry on top and siren horns. Otherwise, it is basically the Chief Special from 1975, repainted in the police cruiser. Although the police cruiser also came out in 1975, so you could just say it's a carry forward of that. Chrome plastic base. Note that the siren is now one piece with the window. Before, at one point, it was a red cherry in years past on top of the blue windows. Separate piece. This car in mint condition is tough to find, and in the condition you see it here is probably still worth about $50 or $60. However, in very nice condition, it could fetch upwards of $100. Rockbuster is a new and exciting casting for this year. Features an all-metal base, racing tampos on it with sponsors. It rolls really well and has a plastic roll bar which is somewhat susceptible to crushage if you should step on it by accident, as you can see how thin and flimsy it is. However, this car is quite a collectible piece and can fetch anywhere between $40 and $60 in mint condition. Roger Dodger makes a reappearance in 1976. Last we saw it was 1974, featuring a metal base. This time it has a chrome plastic base. In this condition, I have seen it sell multiple times for over $120, which is surprising because it's actually more expensive than the metal base version. I'm thinking this might be a rarer version or harder to find with a shiny chrome base. At any rate, don't pass this one up if you see it for a bargain. Another pricey car nowadays. This was new in 1976, the Street Rodder. The smallest Hot Wheel for this year, and for many years to come actually. Very lightweight, however all metal base, metal top, big chrome plastic engine which often features missing exhaust pipes due to how small and fragile they are, and even more often that little windshield. Doesn't take much to snap that off. So if you see one of these things in good shape, snap it up. It's a beautiful little hot rod casting, and these things can sell for upwards of $80. The Twin Mill is by far one of Hot Wheels' most recognizable vehicles to this day. This car was first cast in 1969, built from the ground up at Mattel, and nowadays there's even a full-size replica of this vehicle that they often show in car shows and other toy events. It's a very fast vehicle on the track, fairly simplistic in its toy design, but very well thought out, featuring two engines, chrome plastic engines. This car will be seen over and over again throughout the years. But to buy this example in particular, you're looking at spending around $30 to $50 in mint condition. Aw Shoot makes its appearance in 1976 for the first time, and would not be seen again until 1986 in the Action Command series, and renamed Shell Shocker at that time. So this is the only year you'll see it named Aw Shoot. And although a lot of these vehicles look the same even throughout the years, you can tell this one apart just by its tampo on the front is specific to this year, and the shade of green. If you were to park this one and later versions side by side, you would see there is a difference. This vehicle will run you anywhere between $40 and $50 in mint condition. Just about every die-hard vintage collector will know about the staff car. Usually it's one of the holy grails on a collector's list, and it was on mine for quite some time as well. This version here is the Redline version. Later on there will be a Blackwall version as well, which we'll see in the 1977 video. This 1976 version though was only available in the military 6-packs of the time, never on its own. It is basically the maxi taxi casting, or police cruiser casting, as the case may be. It's quite a rare car, and in this condition I think I spent about $400 or $450 for it. At times I've seen them go for bargains anywhere around $275 to $300, but as high as $650 at other times. So it really depends on the market when you choose to spring on this car. For many, this is also a holy grail for the 1976 lineup or for your supervan collection. This is an original Toys R Us promotional piece with Jeffrey the Giraffe on the side, scarf flailing in the wind, and an interesting racing spoiler type design underneath it, crossing all the fenders. This one here is in mint condition with a shiny metal base and perfect paint all the way around, black smoked windows, and the marker lights on the sides. I have seen this once before with Blackwall wheels and regrettably did not buy it. However, this version here is the more common one, I would say, unless the Blackwall wheel one wasn't authentic. I can't be sure. But these Redline versions are quite pricey. And in this condition, I think I spent about $300 for it. You should be able to find it for slightly cheaper than that with a few flea bites. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, the Super Chromes. We're going to look at all of these cars. And in 1976, this was a big deal. We hadn't seen shiny, chromy cars since 1971 previously. As in 1972, Hot Wheels went to the enamel paint jobs on their cars, which was all just the different colors that we saw in the Flying Color lineup. A welcome return for the Alive 55, based on a Chevy Nomad. This Super Chrome still features the opening hood, which in later years would be eliminated. Heavy Beast, all metal. This one here is worth about $75 to $95 in mint condition. And this one is darn near it, other than some slight scuffing. The tampos are in very good shape, and so are the Redline wheels. A personal favorite of mine, the Chevy Monza 2+2. This one is in supreme condition. Absolutely mint. It took me quite a while to find a completely mint example of this car. It does feature a black plastic base. The interior and windows are all one-piece blue transparent plastic. But I really just love this car. I love the casting, and I think Mattel did a fantastic job on it at the time. And it's a shame they didn't utilize it more past the 1970s, because it really just fell off the map after about 1978, I think. Except for in international markets. We did see some different paint jobs in France and Mexico and whatnot, but not in the North American market. At any rate, this car will set you back about $50 in mint condition, if you can find it. This Corvette Stingray Super Chrome is one of the most expensive Super Chromes of all of them, because this car was only found in the Super Chrome 6-packs. For that reason, this car will fetch at least $100 in mint or close to mint condition, and likely much higher, as it is rarely seen. If you see it in the full 6-pack with all the other more common cars, you're looking at spending $500 to $600 for the packaging and the car. Keep an eye out for that one. As far as I know, the Formula 5000 was also only found in the Super Chrome 6-pack. So I was not completely correct in what I said about the Corvette being the only exclusive. However, this car does not command nearly the same value, still fetching anywhere between $50 and $60 in mint to near mint condition. It is quite a nice little piece, all in chrome. The Gremlin grinder shines with its new chrome finish, featuring the same tampos as seen on the green version. It's still quite cool looking. Very cool looking little car. And one of these will set you back anywhere between $40 and $60 in good shape. Not to be outdone by the chrome Corvette Stingray, the Heavy Chevy takes the cake as the most popular super chrome of the time. And this is a minty example, which took me quite a while to find and a heck of a lot of haggling and negotiating to get without losing my shirt. This car set me back about $125, which I have come to realize was an absolute steal because I've seen these things in not mint condition sell for upwards of $150 to even close to $200. So if you find a nice chromy version of this blown Camaro, or Heavy Chevy as it's called, you might want to pick it up. I'm afraid to touch it, it's so shiny. Large Charge also gets the chrome treatment, still featuring the same type of electric tampo work and high voltage with the lightning bolts. It looks awesome with the blue windows and those tampos. This car will set you back around $40 or $50. The Mighty Maverick benefits from chrome as well, featuring the same tampos as seen on the Flying Color cars. This one's worth between $40 and $60 in good shape. Another very pricey super chrome, based on its popularity I would think for the most part, is the Mustang Stalker in chrome. It's got the same paint jobs that we saw on previous releases of the Stalker in 1975, but with this shiny new chrome paint, it doesn't hold back, and to get one in this nice condition, you're looking at least $125. However, I think a more reasonable price would be nearing $200 for a car in this condition. The Neat Streeter was a hard car for me to come by in the Super Chrome lineup. In fact, it was one of the last nice looking, good condition Super Chrome cars I was able to acquire, and even then, mine has a bit of tarnishing and some chips, but still perfectly fine for my collection. I have seen this car in mint condition sell for $200. I think I spent about $70 for this one. The P911 came out with a choice of tampos in the Super Chrome lineup for 1976. Exactly the same car, same everything except for those tampos. Each of them is worth about the same in the price guides. However, I would say that this red and green version of the tampos is the harder to find between the two of them. It was the last car I found as well between the two of them, and I think I spent more, roughly around $70 or $80 if memory serves, whereas this one set me back about $40 or $50. At the time, this was my last car I found in the Super Chromes. If I said it was the Neat Streeter, I had forgotten about this one. This car, although in the price guides isn't the most expensive Super Chrome, it was by far the hardest to find, and I actually bought this one from a guy in Great Britain, of all places. And I had to shell out $150 for it in this condition. Price guides lie when they say it's only worth $70. If you ever find one in this condition worth $70, you know what to do. Snap it up. This Super Chrome version of the Poison Pinto is highly sought after and quite expensive. I was lucky enough to find this one with its original Japanese carton from a guy in Japan, and I spent about $125 to acquire it. I have seen them sell for a bit less than that, but never in perfectly mint condition such as this one, and certainly not with an original cardboard box to go with the vehicle. I also bought one other vehicle from him, a Carabao, which we'll see in the 1977 video. Very rare Blackwall Carabao. Never seen again. And here we have the Prowler, also featuring the same demony-like flame tampos on the roof. This one's worth about $40 to $50 in mint condition. And you should be able to find it for cheaper than that with a few little nicks and scuffs on it. The brand new Rockbuster casting also gets the chrome treatment in 1976. This one here is worth about $40 to $60 depending on the condition. Steamroller comes with a choice of tampo colors for you. Same casting, but one with the purple and red tampos, oh my goodness, and one with the blue and yellow tampos. The 7-star tampo work would be later seen in 1976. I may be mistaken on that, but I'm not sure that there is a Redline version with the 7 stars. I haven't seen one personally, but then again, sometimes my memory fails me. I know I do have the Blackwall version with 7 stars, which we'll see later. And the 3 stars are, of course, the less rare versions if you do have a 7-star. Each of these would be worth anywhere between $50 and $60 in decent condition. And here is the trio of chrome super vans. One of these vans is so extraordinarily rare, I've never seen it and actually can't even really put an accurate price on it. And I'll tell you how I got it in just a moment. But first of all, let's take a look at this casting. Beautiful, all chrome with the flames on it. Same as we saw in the old black vans from the years prior, 1975. This one has the smoked windows, Redline wheels of course, an all metal, quite a heavy casting. This one here is worth about $60 to $100 depending on how mint it is. And here is what I'm talking about, how mint. This one is completely mint. This thing's like a mirror. You can see yourself in it. This one's worth about the same as a metal base version normally, but I'm sure I spent a premium for this one. You can see there's just a slight bit more shine to this plastic version, even though I would list this one as nearly mint as well. It does have a bit of a fog in it, which I would not, well, I don't see it on this side. So it has a bit of a haze on one side, possibly from someone attempting to clean it, or maybe some water spray, I don't know. I'm not going to try and rub that off though, because fear of rubbing the tampo off. But here it is. This is the one I have in my personal guide listed as extraordinarily rare. This is a blue window version, plastic base. I have seen a picture of this on the original HotWheelCollectors.com database, which, may it rest in peace. Did not have a price for it. It was just listed as rare, and I actually found this one in a purchased lot of vehicles by accident. So it was not sold to me as such, as being a rare vehicle. It was merely a wonderful random find I found in a whole bunch of other old Blackwalls and Redlines that I bought years ago. So for that reason, I don't really know what to put on this for a price, but I'd be curious to hear if anyone else has one of these with blue chrome, with blue tint windows, and obviously, you know, with the original rivets still intact. That's what they should look like. At any rate, I wouldn't part with it for the world. The last car that we're looking at, of course, is the Twin Mill. This one is in less than ideal condition. One of the last cars I never got around to buying mint. Probably should go on the hunt for pretty soon here, because this one is the roughest car I have for 1976. A new version of this, I would say, would be worth around anywhere between $50 to $75. Potentially more. I think I spent about $35 for this one, which is remarkable considering it's in pretty rough shape. However, it does still have its exhaust pipes on the side, which is essential. Well, that wraps up for my 200th video, ladies and gentlemen. Forgot to announce that in the start, but oh well. There's going to be a lot more videos to come. The cars are back safely on the wall after their nice little tour de table. And the next vehicles we'll be looking at, hopefully it won't be 2 weeks this time. I was meant to do this every week. Life gets in the way. But we've got 1977 coming up next. And boy, there's a lot of cool cars in there. The introduction of Blackwalls, a lot of paint variations, and some more super chromes. So hold on tight for that and stay tuned. Happy hunting. Happy hunting.